How's it going, folks? Rob here. Welcome back to the channel. Going to check out another car from my garage in Gran Turismo 7. I randomly picked this one and I was quite happy with it. This is the Lamborghini Countach. This is the LP400, released in 1974, 3 years after the original Countach was released as a concept car, and my God, what a car it is. Now, obviously, this is not the first mid-engine supercar from Lamborghini. That, of course, was the Miro, which came out in the mid to late 60s. But for someone who grew up in the 80s, before the internet, before car magazines and all that sort of stuff, well, we could never afford them back in the day. For me and a lot of friends that were into cars back in the day, this was the first car because we didn't know the Miro existed. The Countach was it, and that's just a fantastic car. This was the poster car for 70s and 80s kids, without a doubt. I had a massive poster of the Countach, not the one we all wanted with the lovely pretty lady on the bonnet, but we had one similar to it. This was such a fantastic looking car. Even to this day, many years later, it still looks fantastic. So yeah, we're going to check it out. I've never seen original Countach in real world. I've seen a bunch of the anniversary 88 editions out in the roads, and there's a few of them in Melbourne, Australia, where I live, and they look and sound fantastic. But I've never seen one of the old school 74 Countaches in real world. So I'm going to check this out in VR. We're going to have a quick look through it and see what it's like, because that's the closest I've sadly ever come to it. Only about 150 of these, I believe, were made. So yeah, they are quite rare, a little bit expensive, and yeah, let's go check it out in VR. All right, welcome to the garage with a wonderful Countach right in front of us. This is the closest I've ever been to seeing one of these in the real world, and don't they look so cool? That perfect wedge shaped. One thing I never noticed before, but coming into the VR, when you squat down all along the ground and you look from the front bumper all the way up to the roof, it is a perfectly flat surface. Absolutely awesome. Now, this is one thing I love about VR. You get to really get a feel for these cars you'd never see in the real world. Got 14-inch rims. Look at the styling. Obviously, this one is a little bit different compared to the original concept car. They're having a lot of engine overheating problems, so they added a lot of vents and channels to draw in as much oxygen into that 4-litre V12 down the back. 373 horsepower, which compared to a lot of modern supercars is not a lot, but back then that was quite a lot. I love that back end. To this day, that back end looks fantastic. Those dumbbell lights, the quad exhaust, what a presence it has. Now, styling wise, I would say I prefer the 88 version a little bit better, but it looks fantastic. Considering what you're used to now, those rear tires are not very big. Now, I'm going to do something I've always wanted to do, and that is actually get inside one. Sadly, I've got to do it digitally. But here we are. I've seen plenty of pictures and videos on YouTube and car shows over the years showing off the Countach, but this is as good as it's ever going to get in VR. It is a pretty cool thing. Those windows are horrible. That's one thing I've never liked about the Countach. Apparently, they couldn't get side mirrors, the glass. They couldn't make the glass big enough to fit it, so they had to put this little thing in, this bar across the middle, and have the two up and the top and lower one. You don't get much airflow in here because it only opens up halfway, but that is as close as I'm ever going to get to it. It's so simple. I love the old-fashioned manual gearbox. I wish you could just jump through the VR and actually get into this thing in the real world. So many dials up there on the console. You got about... I've gone too far out of the VR range. Sorry, computer. All right, we're back. I've reset the the headset. Wasn't too happy about me moving around too much then. So here we are back again. Yeah, like I said before, nice and simple. We got a bunch of warning lights back there under the console there. Just so simple. I've seen a few versions of this car with slightly different interior. This one is quite grey. At least it's not like most 70s cars where it's all brown and velour. We don't have that option here. Much better. Apparently these seats are quite soft and comfortable to sit on. Sadly, I'm never going to find out. One thing I'm noticing straight away, I'm 6'5". There's no way I'm fitting in this car properly because look how squished the footwell is. You're really bunched up. How are you getting 2 feet in there to work those 3 pedals properly? You're definitely going to have to take that floor mat for starters. All right, let's hit the track, take it for a quick drive. All right, for the first drive, we're going to go around the Red Bull Ring for a couple laps. Got a Ferrari 308 GTB. I thought it might be a little bit closer, but already I've pulled away a little bit too much horsepower as I overshoot because I'm too busy looking at the gearbox gear shifting. Something about a manual gearbox. I love it. Just look at that. Gotta love VR. Actually, the immersion being inside the car is fantastic. Got my fan on, blowing in my face, so it actually feels like I'm... Oh, not going that fast because it's only on low setting, but you get the idea. I love the immersion in VR is fantastic. I believe next month, a couple of weeks' time, we're getting an adapter for the Sony PSVR 2, so we can start using it on PC, which is fantastic because my new gaming PC would really like to test out some of those VR games on Steam, but let's worry about that. I'm getting sidetracked. How's the Countach going? Doesn't make a bad sound in my headphones as I overshoot. Really trying to get this thing to turn. Steering wheel really fighting me as I get this thing around. It's got quite heavy steering. Now it is mid-engine. A lot of the weight's going to be in the back. And feel it as you go around the corner. Got to be a little bit, my throttle works, needs a little bit of work. Yep, there we go. The weight really wants to kick around. Now, this is an old 70s car. It's not going to have the world's best suspension and chassis set up like modern supercars have. This is a long way before they worried too much about lap times and it was all about just being a complete show car. They weren't designed to be setting lap records around the Nürburgring. It was all about looking good and sounding good and crashing while looking good. I love these old cars. I'd love to drive one of these. Hell, just to see one. One of the most iconic cars of all time. Doesn't matter if you're into muscle cars, supercars, sports cars, whatever. You can't deny the impact the Countach had. Shaped supercars for all eternity. Not the fastest, not the most, not the best equipped car. You can't reverse properly in them because you've got no visibility. This is the one with the periscope in the roof. If you adjust your mirror, you can actually see outside of the little periscope up on the roof. First impressions, my driving on this car is not great. I'm not going to deny that. No editing is going to get rid of this shit skill level. But I feel like I'm getting slightly better as I progress. I've only been playing this game for a few months. Hard on the brakes. The Ferrari is long gone. I don't know how far back it is because I'm in VR. So I've got no idea how far ahead or behind cars are. I was hoping in the last update Polyphony would have brought that in for the VR, but for some reason we get everything else on the HUD except for that. And that's the one thing you really need the most when you're racing. That was pretty bad gear changes, pretty bad racing line, pretty bad all up. Got 1, 2 more corners to go. Hopefully we can finish it up, do the car a bit of pride. Then I'm going to do a bunch of races, get a feel for the car, then I'm going to take it to the test track, give it 10 laps around there, see how fast it can go. The other thing I'm going to start doing is comparing the cars, you know, how they go off the line, quarter mile, 1 mile drag, top speed, that sort of stuff. I'll start that next video. Onto pit straight. I love this track. There we go. That is the closest I'm ever going to come to drive this car. Alright, so let's actually compare these cars in a straight line. How'd the Countach go? As you can see, as expected, it's the 5 cars I've tested. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is definitely the slowest one. You could expect that. It is a very, very old car, going up against some of the best supercars of the modern era. Quarter mile, as you'd expect, 12.8, which overall is not a bad time for a road car, considering it's from the early 70s. But at the moment, it's a little over a second slower. Over the 1 mile drag, again, down the back, 22.2. Full second slower than the Roof GTF we got in the recent update. However, we look at the top speed. Granted, it's not the fastest car in a straight line, but it is not the slowest, sitting in second spot. This is quicker than both the Ferraris and the new Roof RGT, which is quite impressive. Granted, it takes a little bit longer to get to its top speed, but if you're purely basing it on numbers, it is quicker overall in a straight line. Granted, around a racetrack, which we're about to do, it's going to be a lot slower. All right, for the final test for the Lamborghini Countach LP400, brought it to Segdegna Layout C for my final test. Gave this car 10 flying laps like I've done the other 4 cars that I've driven around here, and without a doubt, this is the hardest one I've had to drive around here. It's a 70s car, what do you expect? It hasn't got the best brakes in the world. The body's not the greatest. There's a lot of weight in the back with that big V12. It's a little bit off balance. It could do with quite a bit of work. That back end slides around. You don't have the best grip. Doesn't have the best tires as well. Coming through the S's here, it was really hard to get this thing under control. The back end just wants to slide around. Every now and then you got it right. You're able to get the lines right, but I was really struggling to get a good consistent times with this one. I would really like this car, but I'm going to have to do a few upgrades to get it to where I like it. But at the moment, stock standard, it's average. It's a 70s car. It's about what you'd expect, but it's cool to see a Countach on the track. All right, so we checked the leaderboard for Sedegna Layout C. The Countach, as you'd expect, is in 5th spot. The slowest car around here, 102.8. That's actually not as bad as I thought it would actually be. It felt a lot slower around here compared to even the Ferrari F40 at 59.2. The Countach felt a lot slower, but yeah, we're going to check out a bunch of other 70s cars to compare it. But yeah, like I said, it was a little bit tricky to drive around. It needs a lot of work on the body to make sure it's a bit steadier and stable. It doesn't like throwing its weight around too much through those S's. Could do with a little bit of downforce, a little bit of suspension work, a brake upgrade. Yeah, a little bit of work here and there, but yeah, one of the all-time greats. It was never meant to be a great handling car. So I'm Rob. Cheers for watching. That is the Lamborghini Countach LP400, one of the all-time great supercars. Just a bit of a handful to drive it flat out. Does look damn good even after all these years. So cheers for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.